How y'all doing tonight? I honestly don't have no business being here. This is the holiday season, and I done told Geechee since the day I met him that I don't pick cotton at night. I don't work when the white man says we got the day off. If I get the day off, I take the time off. And I know some of y'all are blacker than me because y'all don't care nothing about these holidays and white man holidays and all that. I know some of y'all blacker than me. I never claim to be the blackest because even if I don't adhere to the Christian holidays and the spirit and the theme of the holiday, one thing about holidays I do adhere to and embrace, and that means sit down and do nothing. You know,
lies
about the holidays.
Lies.
Hey man, what's up, man?
What you trying to say? You follow the Sabbath? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
If I lived in a Zionist genocidal settler colony, I sure in the hell would. You wouldn't?
I don't know.
Hell yeah.
I gotta move.
Siesta, Sabbath, all that, man. I'm an anti-grinder. I'm an hustler. Like I said, my great-grandparents taught me being a hustler is not an admirable trait.
At all.
Then why you send me that message? We on? Are we on for tomorrow?
Because I didn't know if you was taking a break. You just said you wanted to rest.
I did, but I took that also as like, somebody asked you a question. And I've been married a long time, so you have to know something if you're going to hang around married dudes. Mm-hmm. A question is always a setup.
Oh, that's what you be doing.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Every question is a setup. You can't just take a question at face value. You'll find out. Once you marry, you never take, how do I look in this dress? Do you want to go to the mother-in-law's? I have to run some errands. Do you want to go with me? Every question is a setup. And every question, there's a right or wrong answer.
Dialogue,
there's no such thing as a neutral question. So you don't know that. So, you triggered me. I be forgetting you out there still, running free and wild.
I'm hurting.
Yeah.
Hey, listen. I got the perfect mug for you.
What that is?
Right, Jay.
Oh, that's a big one. I like that actually.
Toilet, talking shit and drinking it.
I like shit like, no, I don't talk shit. I tell the truth to the young black youth.
It's still talking shit though. Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, man, we might as well start with the holiday stuff. We might as well go down and work our way up.
Okay.
Because
that's what she said.
There you go. something that you said was I was trying to figure out what people was talking about. What the purpose of holidays were to take breaks from daily routines, which sound like a labor argument, and then allowing people to recharge, connect with loved ones, celebrate culture traditions, foster a sense of community, all those other things. So I'm curious, like, what do you what are holidays, and do you believe they are necessary for cultures and people?
First of all, I think holidays are have different characteristics. They can be cultural, national, religious, or ethnic. Mm-hmm. I think they are days that either recognize a day of recognition of something that is important to the group, or a day to reconnect people to each other and the things that bind them. So I don't have any universal hostility of holidays, but there are many holidays that I tend to be either indifferent to a holiday or hostile. Mm-hmm. That's generally, there's really no holiday that I can recognize that I'm enthusiastic about anymore as I get older. So it's indifference or hostility at this point, where it used to be there were some holidays that I embraced, holidays that I was indifferent to, and holidays I was hostile to. But one universal thing, if it is a national holiday, a day off, a day of rest, I unite with that component of every single recognized holiday.
So would you say because of co-optation, or I would say the corporate oligarchs or whoever that controls holidays, do you would say it's not inherently escapist, but it turns into something that's commodified or is escapist. So for one, holidays normally talk about spending and marketing and advertisement and getting people to spend more money, but then also the argument of like holidays is where you find peace and you recover and comfort and things that make you happy. Would you say that even though you don't have an inherent or aggression towards it, the way in which it's used by, I guess, the U.S. state and its citizens, what would you say about it? Is it escapist? Is it?
No, I don't think holidays are escapists. I think holidays are indoctrinate us. It reinforces our indoctrination. It validates, sustains, and reinforces our indoctrination. That's the worst thing about holidays, even the so-called positive ones, or non-religious or quote unquote non-political ones. So holidays often reconnect you or affirms conclusions and assumptions of the culture and the society. So the materialism is obvious and the consumerism is bad, but I really do think the ideological and indoctrination components are absolutely worse.
Would
Do you have any holidays that you recognize or celebrate?
No. I mean, I don't even celebrate my birthday, so I think I have holiday.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, Geechee, your birthday is not a national holiday.
You said holidays I celebrate. You didn't say national holidays.
Birthdays don't qualify as holidays.
Listen, you said holidays.
Off that high horse.
You didn't say national holidays. Nobody's birthday. You didn't say recognized holidays. You didn't say national. You said none of that. You just said holidays, and I'm like, okay.
Your birthday does not qualify as a holiday.
Are you serious?
Unless you're gonna go up in a balcony and get shot to bring white people and black
people together. No. So if holidays are supposed to bring people peace, rest, and celebration
collectively.
Okay, anyway, so I'll finish answering the question, because collectively sounds like if the state approve it. If the state approve it, then it's a holiday. But no, there's no holiday that I recognize. There's holidays, especially within the last 10 years. Wait, it's more than 10 years. Now it's like 11. I would know that my family members have off and they're trying to get together, and I would get together with them. But hell, I always have off. So I don't really benefit from it other than having time to spend with family.
Yeah, you get to get with the other people. I know when I first moved to New York in 1992, and I was going to class, and class was just kicking my butt, and I was, trying to be a good student and motivate for my future and all that corny shit. And then one day I'd get up to go to school, and they'd be like, "There's no school, it's Rosh Hashanah." What the fuck is Rosh Hashanah? And then another time it's like, "There's no school today, it's Yom Kippur." I'm like, "The fuck is that?" And so I was like, hell, I ain't doing nothing. And I started like shutting down even on those days of leisure. So the one thing I appreciate about holidays is the ones that orient you to stop working. I think the people, like, our only worth, our only value, our only relevance is through the labor we do. And I think that most other cultures outside of Western Protestant, because even like Western Catholic cultures tend to understand the value of leisure. And leisure is not something that is earned, but it is an inherent right and something that is valued and should be cultivated and celebrated. So the good thing that I've always learned is that anything that could tell me you don't have to go to class, you don't have to go to work, you don't have to do nothing, I celebrate that component of holidays. And I think you touched on, like, me, I would like to get together with my family and relatives and loved ones on a regular basis. But because The rest of y'all are all about hustling and grinding and achieving American dream. People don't make themselves available. So a lot of times, the only time you can get with your extended family is if the white man rings the bell and say, okay, today's a special day, barbecue. Or give each other gifts, or come together, commune together. When masses ring the bell, that's the only time. But if you come to the people and say, let's get together, and ain't been no bell, people be like, you heard a bell, ain't been no bell. So we can only get together on allotted, permitted times, plus funerals and weddings.
So tell me this. I want to play this real quick, and then I want to know if you feel like there is a holiday culturally we should recapture or even create. So on your list, we have Kwanzaa and Martin Luther King Day and stuff like that. So can you hear the sound when I play it? And I think the music bed is still playing, by the way. But can you hear this?
Yeah, I hear it. It's clear. I'm listening.
You hear the Sesame Street.
Goes there.
Oh, nice. Oh, and I put the Unity Cup right over there.
Yeah.
And the Kanara goes right here in the middle.
Cool.
Hello, Michael B. Jordan. What are you, Tamir, Gabrielle, and Elmo doing?
Habari Gani, Grover. That's how we greet people on Kwanzaa. That means what's going on.
Because tonight is the first night of Kwanzaa.
Oh, Kwanzaa.
Oh, Grover knows about Kwanzaa.
Of course I know about... Actually, I do not. What is it?
Well, Kwanzaa is our holiday.
It's a time when we celebrate African-American history and culture with our family and friends.
Oh, and what are all the fruits and vegetables for?
Oh, the fruits and vegetables are to celebrate the harvest.
Kwanzaa lasts for 7 days, and each day has a principle.
And since tonight's the first night of Kwanzaa, it's Umoja. It means unity.
Unity means coming together with friends, family, and neighbors.
Say, Grover, do you want to help us out?
Well, I am all about unity. What can I do?
I think we can use some corn for the Kwanzaa table.
Say no more. I will be right back. Okay, here are your horns.
Whoa, okay. Thank you, Grover, but we actually need corn. You know, the vegetable.
Corn! Oh, yes, of course. I was kind of wondering what you're going to do with all these. I will be right back. Okay, there you go. Oh, this is enough. I got the extra large family size.
Okay, that's a lot of corn. You know what? Maybe we need some more friends to join us.
I think you're right. I mean, I have two friends that can
I
help.
don't think we have to watch the whole thing to see what's happening with
Yeah,
Kwanzaa.
can you kill it? It's corny, man.
But do you think Kwanzaa, and then again, hey, are you meaning to play the music bed in the back?
You hear the music?
Yeah, I still hear it.
Yeah, I try to create ambience. I'll
Oh,
turn it
your
off.
ambient. Now keep your ambience.
No,
So listen,
no, it's off.
is
Nah.
Kwanzaa one of those things, one of those cultural celebrations that we should recapture and use? But before you answer, I saw somebody already said Karinga Claus, but I also know that this sister and other people who was associated for creating Kwanzaa, they don't really get their credit. People just said Karinga's character is what should keep us away from Kwanzaa, as if he owns it. But anyway, the broader question is, do you believe Kwanzaa, even as you think about the principles, maybe the objectives, do you think that's a holiday that Black folks should recapture and utilize? Is there any holiday?
All,
Go ahead.
I'm not clear on the word recapture.
Okay.
Who has it right now?
I don't think
Because
we,
in order to recapture, you have to know who got it. If I want to retake something that was taken from me, the first thing I have to know is who took it.
well, I think mainstream corporate media has it. I think once it become something on Sesame Street, and once it start to become, again, it's almost like the story of Fred Hampton, the story of Malcolm X. When you say like recapturing the narrative or the radical history, who has it is, I guess, the white right or liberal Blacks or whoever. But I don't think it has a radical use for a culture. I don't think Black people on the left have I don't know, influence or
First of
control
all,
of Kwanzaa.
I have to say this above and everything else. Kwanzaa is not captured by the mainstream society because Kwanzaa is an integrationist holiday.
I don't understand that. That's the reason why it's not captured by them.
Yes.
Okay.
Kwanzaa, I believe that Kwanzaa always existed to be what it became. I think Kwanzaa was founded to be what it became. It's not a revolutionary holiday. It's not a holiday that is meant to be hostile to the overall existence or our position in America. It is to uplift us, motivate us. What is it motivating us to do? What is Kwanzaa motivating us to do? And when you take the Nguzo Saba, you take everything about the Nguzo Saba and make it into a whole, and you practice all elements of the Nguzo Saba. What is it driving us to do?
Well, I mean, I think so. Well, two things. I feel like rather you call it I don't think I was trying to call it radical left, more so about Black culture. I think if Black culture,
African American culture,
sure, Black. I don't think that's separate from Black culture. And it just like Juneteenth, this thing goes from our cultural creation and utility to more of mainstream culture. Now, does that mean
what's the purpose of it? Which is what it was created to do.
I hear that. I'm not arguing about the mainstream. I'm talking about, like, for instance, let's say, for instance, if you have a utility, something that you utilize for our particular use, and then mainstream get it and they change the meaning of it. It's almost similar to, again, like if Malcolm X politics is this thing, and this is how we teach Malcolm X. Once it become a celebrated holiday and schools teach it, it's not going to be the same politics that we would share.
That's true. Now, if Kwanzaa had started off as a revolutionary holiday, and then it got hollowed out and became a mainstream holiday, that's one thing. But what Kwanzaa didn't start off in is not revolutionary in its foundation, in its purpose, its founder. It was never a revolutionary holiday. It was always a holiday for Black people to help us better embody behaviors that will make us better, more successful in America, to make us better.
Kwanzaa does that?
Yes.
You think so?
Look at the Nguzo Saba.
Cooperative. You think cooperative economics is
that's that or the way beyond the name? Cooperative economics is about Black business. Cooperative economics, it doesn't say anything. It literally, in the definition of Ujamaa, if you go to the official Kwanzaa website, they use the word Kwanzaa. But I don't know. Everybody's claiming Kwanzaa now. Like they saying even oh, I haven't been there in a while. Is the official Kwanzaa website still active?
I don't know, man. I don't even know it was official website. So
yeah, there's an official, real deal website, dog.
Never seen that.
Yeah, it's still active. The one that
so here
Karinga Claus, the one he
why see you the one who got your people doing Karinga Claus. Maybe that's
who else is he?
I don't know.
Now let's go to the.
I'm here. Let's start at
that's not the official site, dog.
Is the word
I'm talking
different?
about the official Karinga's name? What's that website?
Well, first, Karinga didn't create Nguzo Saba, so let's start there.
I didn't say he created Nguzo Saba. I said he created Kwanzaa.
So let's talk
about claims, but then there's other people claiming he didn't.
There are people with him, but that's what I'm saying. Let's focus more on Nguzo Saba as opposed to Karinga.
Well, could you please put up the official page?
Where the page at? Well, you put it up then.
Okay,
since you don't want to go to the Nguzo Saba.
What page is that?
This is the Nguzo Saba. This is the 7 principles.
What page is that? I don't want to hear it. I ain't gonna listen to you tell me what it says.
National Museum of African American History and Culture. That
ain't no goddamn official.
Smithsonian.
No, let me put up I found it. I haven't been there in quite some time, but I found it. The official Kwanzaa page put up by Karinga Claus himself.
Hey, yeah, I am gonna block niggas, whoever that person is. Can we block them? Because they just
what niggas do?
That's what they didn't do. They just in the chat acting silly. Or you can
But the
keep
profile picture.
They was talking about FBA and Eritreans and all that other stuff, but
they're trolling.
I think so.
You have the power to block.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know that might be.
And you want me to do it?
No, that might be your cousin.
No, she ain't my cousin.
She calling you a fascist.
Give her pretty privilege.
What? What is that?
But I don't know. I haven't been going. But
should we just leave? Should we just leave her in the chat? You want her in the chat?
The official Kwanzaa website.
Look who's there.
Oh, those people are just people that represent. But cooperative economics, it literally says to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit.
So Diallo. Yes. We both said that something can start out with a principle, and then the people who engage in a world of make-believe, the black business class, they can adopt it and they can recreate their own thing.
So let's say this in this. Let's look at this.
I'm telling you, I read the cooperative economics from on source, and then I saw it condensed in somebody else's source, and that one leads to black businesses. The first one talk about actually cooperative economics.
Let's go to your definition, because you don't like let's go back to your Kwanzaa page.
What I'm saying is I don't know about anybody's definition, but I think we can come together and be like, cooperative economics means this. Let me finish this real quick, please. So when you go to these Kwanzaa events, they think cooperative economics is Diallo walks in the door, he stopped and buys shea butter from Brooklyn. He then goes to buy hair locks from David. And then he also go to BM, and then he go buy some CMOS gel. And because you circulate the dollar, that's cooperative economics, according to most of these people who practice it. But if you talk about cooperative ownership, if all of those same people go in together and cooperatively create a business, that'll be cooperative economics as opposed to what they think they're doing. So I'm not going to say that because these people say this is what cooperative economics mean, that's the definition. Well, you know that's not the definition of cooperative economics. Like a cooperative economics sound more so like a planned economy that has a fair or logical or scientific redistribution of wealth and profit, as opposed to one business owning something. Because I think even in another principle, it says collectively own businesses. So that's how I would like, if I'm going to define it, that's how.
Listen, I'm not talking to you though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. Is this something we should recapture, or we should be like, it's done, it's no need?
Listen, not through Kwanzaa. Are we recapturing the cooperative economics, or are we recapturing Kwanzaa? Because my argument here is that Kwanzaa has not been captured. The mission of Kwanzaa has been successful because fundamentally, Kwanzaa is for the improvement of African Americans to be better integrated and to function better and to prosper within the United States.
Maybe
under capitalism, imperialism, white hegemony. And it is a way to put an Afrocentric cloak over the further entrenchment of Western economics, Western ideology, Western domination. It has always seemed extremely hollow to me. And the Nguzo Saba, everybody, and here's another thing, because everything you said about cooperative economics is right. But when you look at the Nguzo Saba, it's so fucking surface and fluffy that anybody can draw meaning out of it. So you have when my wife was the chief organizer for the citywide Kwanzaa event in Kansas City, held at the historical Gym Theater on the historical 18th and Vine Jazz District in Kansas City. And you would find everybody there from revolutionaries, liberationists, to Christian ministers, to apolitical consumerists, to evangelical Christians, because it was created so that as many people as possible can come and say, oh, I like unity. I can take cooperative economics and use it to say, hey, this is advocating for communism, or I could take cooperative economics and say, hey, this is advocating for capitalism.
That's
like
my point.
You did.
But I think that's the point, though, right? Let me pull this down. Let me pull the other one up. Because again, if we're talking about, does holidays have some type of function for us to be able to benefit from it culturally? Are holidays important in culture or in societies? So when you look at both of these joints, one of them says Ujima, collective work and responsibility to build. But I'm just saying, who cares? To build and maintain our community together and make our community's problems our problems and to solve them together, right?
But then does it define what the problem is?
Brother, I'm not saying that thing probably won't do it. We would have to do it. We can state.
Yes, but here's the thing.
Wait, let me finish. So collectively, just as well as it's collectively work and collectively responsibility, then we would have to collectively come up with an analysis or collectively explain what the problem is to create solutions around it. So this thing on paper doesn't say there won't be no contradictions, no struggle. This thing on paper is be like, this is our principles. These are the things and this is what these principles mean. So I don't know if you can't be disagreeing with principles on the page. And even as
yes, I do. I absolutely disagree.
What you disagree with?
What I disagree with is the problem with this is it is not radical. It is not radical. And I am a Pan-African liberationist. I seek liberation. I don't simply seek unity and economic development and collective work and responsibility and faith. I don't seek those things for the sake of having them.
I hear that,
but those things, allow me to finish. I want those things for a specific purpose. Liberation of African people and the world, the restoration of the world's ecosystem, and the utter dismantling and obliteration of global white hegemony and capitalism. That's what I seek those things. So when somebody says, hey, brother, we need unity, and I'm like, for what purpose? What are we unifying around?
Right, and that's something you can explain.
So can we go back and break down the problem, what you just talked about? What's the one you just read?
So I was reading,
the other one you just read.
This is
Ujima, right?
Yeah. Collective
to build our community together and make our community problems. In order for that to have any weight, you have to define what the problem is, because there are people who think single mothers are the problem. Abortion is the problem.
Perfect.
And so this is not really it sounds good. And that's another thing about it. It's so cosmetically good. It's so cosmetically, but it don't say shit. And I've said this, but your question about should we radicalize, revolutionize, or recapture Kwanzaa, it was never what you're really saying is let's make Kwanzaa something it was never meant to be. And I'm like, why would we do that when we could just start fresh from scratch? So we don't even have to have these fights.
Okay. So you still say holidays are functional, they're useful, right? And I wonder if you say the same thing for Martin Luther King Day. So do you feel like because it was a holiday created by those people, not to say, because it's interesting. I don't know if you could say like we didn't celebrate, radical people didn't celebrate him on their own, and then the mainstream celebration of him supplanted that. Same thing with Kwanzaa and these principles. I'm not sure that we can say, because even as I was looking at this thing in Edisto Island, where right before those Buckers took the land back that they gave to the free Africans, they was actually talking in a collective sense. They was collectively farming the land that they was in. So they had some type of practice. So fuck the word recapture. I don't want to sit here and argue about recapture. All I'm saying is if there is holidays that's out there that could be utilized to organize, because even when you say I want this a revolution, well, you can't get to revolution without the people. And so if the people are here, then you would have to get to the people to take them to that place. So you just can't go out there and say, okay, fuck Kwanzaa, guys, let's just go do revolution. That's not how it works.
Are you suggesting that that's what I'm saying?
Well, when you
suggesting, did I say that we can simply say, fuck, I didn't say that.
Well,
Number one,
somebody said liberation or nothing else.
Now that you've wisely let go of the fallacy of recapturing Kwanzaa. Number two, what you're actually arguing is saying, can we utilize people rallying around Kwanzaa in order to redirect them or radicalize them? Or we can even use the rhetoric or the Nguzo Saba and the themes of Kwanzaa in order to move people towards revolution. And I would argue, no. I think Hallmark cards, Target, and Sesame Street will get much more cachet out of their embracing of Kwanzaa than true revolutionary could ever get. And another thing, you can't do revolution without the people. You also can't revolutionize people with manipulation and lies. Now, I understand and I respect strategies and tactics, but at the core of your strategies and tactics should be tell the people the goddamn truth. And if you got to have respect for the people, and I don't mean respect in terms of being nice and non-offending, but in terms of accepting that they do have as much potential, if not more, as we who are conscious to become awakened, enlightened, and radicalized. So I know the truth and I accept the truth, but I have to tell you something like, oh, cooperative economics is something, and we're gonna take them from cooperative economics about us all supporting businesses and sharing profits together and move them to socialism and the abolishment of private property and the generation and hoarding of profits and the hyper exploitation of the ecosystem for short term. That shit should be written into the Nguzo Saba. And if it isn't, then it is a bastardization of progressive, radical, leftist, and Africanism. That's what Kwanzaa is. I have to tell you,
it can't be written to it if you think you should throw it away.
I was where you were.
Well, where am I at? What are you talking? Where?
With accepting the fallacy that we can get up in Kwanzaa and do something with it.
How did I accept? How did I accept that if I asked you a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't just ask questions. You kept reinforcing and asserting the question and even misrepresenting what I was saying. So the way you were approaching this dialogue has made me seem to think that you were of the conclusion that we can go and participate in Kwanzaa, Black Hanukkah, and somehow steer it towards being revolutionary or even take it back when it was never taken from. You know how people always say America is not going astray. This is the way the system was designed.
Of course.
So the commercialization, widestream, mainstream acceptance of Kwanzaa, the corporatization of Kwanzaa was a core agenda within Kwanzaa.
So there's no people's holiday. There's no revolutionary holidays that you'd say that is useful, that you would uplift practice. May Day, Black August.
Black August is a month. I don't know. Do holidays have to be a specific day? But yeah, I definitely embrace.
Black August. It don't have to be a specific day if Kwanzaa is multiple days. So I would assume it could be as long as you want it to be.
Well, I wouldn't
Black
call
History
Black
Month.
August. I wouldn't call Black August a holiday, but I don't know. What's Black History Month? That's not a holiday. What is that?
I don't know. It's a celebration. I think celebrations are celebrations.
Yeah, but it's not. Well, okay, so
and day of
if we're
time of
calling Black
observance.
August a holiday, which I don't really see it as a holiday, but I've been embracing and engaged with Black August for decades now. May Day, I respect May Day, and I embrace May Day. So those are if I had to pick two holidays that I think had some real weight to them and that I would encourage more people to get into and celebrate, would be May Day and Black August.
And so during Kwanzaa and during Kwanzaa and during King Day, you advise people to do what or don't do what?
During what?
During Kwanzaa and during Martin Luther King Day, his birthday, those celebrations, those holidays, you encourage African people to do what or not do?
On King Day, I advise Black people to take off work And whatever concessions you can get if you're around some white liberals that feel any guilt about the ongoing horrendous atrocities that white people are committing against black people, and if King Day, whatever concessions you can win from the system based on their thing, but take off, chill, relax, binge on your favorite show or video game, kick it with your people. If your people coming together, do what you like. I'm on some Humpty Dance. Rest in peace to Shock G. Do what you like. As far as what was the other holiday?
Just Kwanzaa and King Day, Juneteenth, all
as far as Kwanzaa, if there are Kwanzaa events, it's 7 days. And if there are events that you like, performances or things of that nature, then go to Kwanzaa event. And you don't have to feel guilty. And I don't even advise you to run up in there telling them people this ain't real revolutionary, or telling them about the many crimes of Karinga Claus and the illegitimacy of Karinga Claus. But it's a cultural event. It's a cultural, ethnic event. You know, go there and support the vendors and all of that. I don't have any issue with people. And the only thing I would encourage people to do,
but you just said you got to tell them the truth,
for the propaganda component. So the propaganda of King Day is that America recognizes Martin Luther King's sacrifices and it has any type of reverence or appreciation for King. If you don't fall for the propaganda of any holiday, then you can do what you want. If you want to get some bottle rockets and have a bottle rocket fight on the 4th of July, but you understand this ain't about the freedom of America and all that shit, then do it. If you want to, get you some tofurkey on Thanksgiving and go kick it and take a plate of tofu that nobody in your family gonna eat to the house and watch your uncles play spades and listen to your aunties gossip on Thanksgiving, you don't have to feel any guilt because this shit is empty. I don't have any issue with that. But my main thing I would tell anybody in relationship to any holiday, don't fall for the bullshit, the theme, the spirit of Christmas, or the unity of black people in Guam. Don't fall for the bullshit. That's all. And after if you are clear and free of the bullshit, do what you like.
It sounds to me telling people the truth, as you would always say, would mean if people are engaged in silly shit, you should tell the truth. So, for instance, when they celebrate the ancestor, when I was in the UK, and they said, Colin Powell was an ancestor, I'm either going to correct their ass or I was like, I don't want to be here no more. I'm going to walk out because it's the same place for me.
Oh, yeah. I've been in a place where they poured libation and asked for Colin Powell. I've been in a place where they poured libations and asked for Jesus to be with us.
Yeah. So.
And listen, like I said, if you there and they pour the libations and do some goofy shit before the food get passed out, but you hungry and want to eat and wait till after the food is passed out, I think you're pretty much free to engage it as you see fit. I'm not really hardcore like that. There was a time where I would fast on Thanksgiving. I'd wear red, black, and green instead of red, white, and blue on try to, but like I said, the worst thing about it is when people really fall for it. Like I got people in my family that believe December 25th that Jesus was born in a manger on December 25th, and giving gifts to their family members is a recognition of the gifts the 3 wise men brought to Jesus. I have relatives that really, really believe that the resurrection on Easter, and they put on their finest to go and thank God because he rose on the 3rd day. I got people that I'm related to that fucking are patriotic and fly the flag. And when they want to explode bombs to symbolize the great war for the liberation of America from the evil King George. Them the people I fucking worry about. But I got a homeboy and he and his wife are hardcore atheists, but they get a tree, they buy their kids presents, they dress up in matching pajamas and light a fire and open presents and party and eat a bunch of junk food. And they're atheists AF, and they do Christmas to the fullest because they got a bunch of kids and they were like giving them toys and shit and watching them light up and all that shit. They love it. And I don't go and be like, brother, how dare you? Why would I do that?
So where you want to go? You want to go to the mining shortage or Trump's Billy Club? I got to tell you, when I was doing my research and my stuff in the mining, I had a bunch of nostalgia because that's some of my
don't think
first.
there's enough young people out, enough miners out there?
Well, no, I'm just saying, like my teeth was cut in organizing when I was in Eastern Kentucky around mining. So
Stay away from the miners, man.
Nah, bro. They'll tell me to stay away from your ass.
OVO.
So where you want to go? You want to go to the Trump Billy Club, or you want to go to the miners?
I don't know, man. It's the holiday. I shouldn't even be here.
Here we go.
It's between Christmas and New Year's. I should be chilling.
You don't want to chill. You just said you don't celebrate the holiday. Tell the truth. The truth.
You ain't heard a word I said since I sat down here.
That's celebrating the holiday. If you take rest, you celebrating a holy and holiday.
That's the thing. That's the illusion. I don't fall for none of the okie doke.
So pull up.
It's like this. There was a time where there was early days of the internet. In the early days of the internet, there was this image of a department store that had two dolls. One was the exact identical doll, except one was black and one was white. Same packaging, same name, everything. And the black doll was priced lower than the white doll. And the black community was outraged because they thought a black doll priced lower than a white doll is equivalent to black people being of less value than white people. Mm. And so I was like, wow, if I was going to buy my son an action figure and it was cheaper because of white people's pathology and insecurity, I would buy it and I wouldn't say shit. I would just take advantage of their lunacy. So it's the same thing with holidays. People believe all this weird shit about these sacred, holy, high days. And as a result, I can get some extra food. I can spend time with my people leisurely, or I could, do some other things that aren't allowed on other days. I'm going to do that. And if you want to ask me or have a conversation about more in-depth conversation, I do that too. But I'm not going to walk into my people's houses and flip the table on Thanksgiving.
Good. Don't do it.
Hey, wear my ass out.
It ain't worth it, man. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. Pull up this article for me with the coal miner. I want to go here because
where?
The article on the run sheet.
You be deleting stuff. I get confused.
I deleted the thing that we finished with.
Right, you do that, and I get confused because it changes the length and the shape.
Oh, okay. Come on, old man, catch up.
Okay, where they at though?
But so down here in Utah,
coal miner.
Oh, that's the miner you was coming to see. I missed that one.
I know. I'm waiting. Yeah, I know. I'll slow it down.
Yeah, slow it down, rapper. No, but so in Utah, there's a coal mining operation camp that actually shut down for quite some time, right? So they wasn't in operation for a while, and back in it might have been almost 20-something years or something like that, 18 years, whatever. But back in 2019, they was promising that this new mine that's coming up is going to be able to present 100 jobs. And so as time progressed,
350 jobs.
Well, in 2019, they was promising 100 jobs, but obviously, this one is now saying that it's more. But all that said, there is no workers. Nobody don't want to work in the mines, right? And again, this is like from 2005 to 2009, and a little bit even longer, I was organizing around coal mining issues and energy and environmentalism. I think I've said before how one of the dumbest comments that was made to me by Bill Clinton was the reason why we should stop burning. I mean, we got to keep burning coal is because China is burning coal so fast that we need to keep up with them. And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Nothing. Dumb shit.
But again, like this promise of jobs, and this is the conversation that I was actually trying to thrust you into Avi into when she came on, But the promise of jobs doesn't necessarily talk to like the harmful significance of like how the environment is
that's an externality. That's an externality.
Well, okay, the environment is degraded because again, I think
that's an externality.
But it's jobs. If the jobs and the impact of the economy is not an externality either.
No, the environmental impact is an externality.
Okay, but it's still a cost, right?
No,
it's not a cost.
No.
Oh, I don't understand if it's not a cost for an industry.
You listen, man. You don't understand capitalism if you don't comprehend externalities.
I'm asking you if it's not a cost to us in the environment, and you saying it's not.
The cost to the environment? Does the environment hold stock?
That's what I'm trying to tell.
Does the environment?
Listen, I don't know if you're doing this thing where you're creating an argument that I ain't arguing. All I'm saying is the cost to coal. Like for instance, what I'm saying is they can promise you job, and there will be a certain amount of jobs in your community, but the cost that is going to weigh on your community is your water going to be fucked up. Your air gonna be fucked up.
Those are externalities, Geechee.
Okay, listen. At this point, if I'm telling you this is how it's gonna impact you, you call it externality. Yes. I'm telling you this is a cost. I don't see why
it's not a cost. To whom? Who pays those costs?
The people in the community, the people in the environment. Do they not pay that? Is that not something that do you not have to give up clean air, and do you not have to give up health for that thing to come?
The concept of externalities, like I said, if you got to understand what externalities are, or capitalism does not function with externalities. So you're talking about cost. There are separate entities in here. You have the capitalist, right? And you have to look at what the capitalists consider. The capitalists consider the generation of profits and the mitigation of losses. So when they ask about something, whenever you want to define something as a cost or an issue or a problem, you have to ask, how does this thing I define as bad impact profits?
But I'm not talking about for the capitalists. So you're trying to argue that I'm saying the cost of something, and you're talking about the consequences of something, and you're saying that we're saying two different things, which we're not.
Yes, you are.
We're not.
You got to use the proper language, man.
I don't have to use the proper. No, I don't have. There's a cost. There's an impact. There's a cost. There's consequences. There's an impact.
Yes.
And to me, there's no difference. Like that's.
You literally said the people have to pay the cost. Do you mean the elites? The capitalists?
Well, some of those people, it impacts them as well, but most of all, it impacts us.
These motherfuckers trying to fly to Mars and building bunkers at the top of mountains.
I don't think that
and
matters.
You're talking about they don't see it as a cost.
What I'm saying,
they have the power. They define reality. They say it's not a cost. Therefore, regardless of what we little people think, I understand what you're saying. This is a horrendous to the environment. The fact that there is a minor shortage is bad for business, but it's good for us. The fact that people are not willing to go into mines and anything that can hinder or reduce or reverse carbon energy production is a good thing. I agree with you on all of that. But we don't need to speak in terms. We have to stop using the capitalist language. It is better to say the environmental impacts, the environmental consequences, as opposed to saying the environmental costs. Because when you use the economic language, the capitalists win because you reduce everything to numbers and costs. They even say, well, a tree.
Well, don't cut down this tree. No. Cost doesn't necessarily mean just money. So when I'm saying cost, I'm obviously not using it as, I'm not giving it a monetary fact. When I say the environment, I said the cost is your ass gonna have to give up clean water. The cost is carbon emissions.
Cost is about value and money.
The cost.
And the next time I come to you and I ask you how much this cost, and you don't speak to me in terms of money, people are gonna look at you funny.
That's not true. That's not true.
So when's the last time you've had a conversation or interaction where you talked about cost and it wasn't about money or value?
Maybe several times
Give me an example, a specific example.
Several times.
Easy because you got several.
So something can cost you your time.
Nope, that's not what I asked you.
you telling me?
I'll ask you
You asked
again.
me how did I
And
use
what
the
is
word
time?
cost?
What is time? When I say time is, how do you finish that? Time is what? Time is
a measurement.
What does everybody say in the chat? Geechee doesn't know this. When somebody say time is ... what is always the thing? Come on, chat. Because Geechee acting like Atlanta ain't in America.
I think you be just, you'll argue at the bathroom towel. The bathroom towel ain't folded the correct way. You gotta fold this way, because if you ain't fold this way,
it depends on how you store it.
It's a wasting of time. You wasting time. You
costing
us time right now.
Thank you. Everybody knows that, but you want to act like reality ain't real. Thank you, Brooklyn Zoo.
Time is what?
Money. Everybody knows that.
And what
time
is money?
Time is money. Let me go. Let me do an experiment.
This person says value. You see how you
look. Let me tell you something. Let me show you something. Even Google don't like you.
Now we got 10 minutes. We got 10 minutes left, and you won't spend half of your time talking about semantics.
I typed in. No, that's not the right one.
I should have known. I shouldn't even prepare none of these notes. You know why? Because we ain't gonna get to them. What's the purpose of preparing notes?
Look at this. Let me show you something. No, that's not the thing.
Cola, I don't know the point of this. I'm trying to figure it out too. I'm just trying to get to the topic.
I typed in time is, and it immediately went to talking about money. But it's all gravy, man.
AI, right? Listen,
yeah, AI.
You know what's really funny? You argue.
You can't have real intelligence. Fake it till you make it, baby.
You argue every day about not using white people's languages and whatever, and using words to your
I didn't say their language. That's all I speak is white folks' language. I didn't say don't use white folks' language.
Here we go.
I said their terminology, their meanings, their definitions, and we should respect them and use them more appropriately and effectively. Language is a weapon. But I guess you want to talk about the cost of the environment, but the industries don't give a damn about the environment, and they don't pay the cost of environmental consequences and impacts. And I mean cost in terms of money, not time or whatever you think cost means. So if we're going to discuss the ecological impacts, we can't discuss the ecological impacts in the same context that we discuss the cost. Because under capitalism, environmental impacts are treated as an externality. So you have to talk about them outside of the reasoning, rationale.
You know what? I think I'm gonna let Haas. I'm gonna let Haas tag me out. You're right. I'm gonna let Haas tag me out since y'all two speak in the same language, because even as your AI thing says, externalities are indirect cost or benefits that affect people who are not directly involved in the economic transaction. So there's a cost associated with externalities according to your AI source definition. And so to get hang up for 30 minutes on a word that's just pointless, like fuck. Why?
You didn't hear what I said. What should I say?
You just said I shouldn't use cost because it has nothing to do with externalities. And
no, I didn't. I said you should use externalities.
But do you see what's happening though? Like for almost 30 minutes, we'll be here instead of like, and now it's almost an hour.
Okay.
And all I was trying to get through is the topic, but I don't know. However you want to say it, there's an impact for them to tell you that they're going to give you jobs, right? So if there was a community benefits agreement, there was a group of people who say, we decide how things happen in this community. If these people come and say, hey, we want to open up this mine in your community, they're going to say, hey, we're going to have 300 jobs and blah, 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 blah. Even I remember people will say, okay, what's it going to cost us? Like what do we have to give up? What do we have to lose to get what you're going to give us? The water going to be fucked up. This is going to whatever. I don't really care about how I think anybody, when I said that, anybody knew what I was saying. I don't think nobody was lost. Like, what do you mean cost? So I just felt like we spent too long.
The reason why I emphasize that you call it an externality is because the impact on the environment and the impact on the community do not factor in the equation when you're dealing with the company.
Have you ever been to Eastern Kentucky? Have you ever been to Eastern Kentucky?
Ask you a question.
Tell me this. Have you been to Eastern Kentucky, or have you been to the hood and South Side? When you go talk to people, are you going to tell them about externalities? They're going to be like, what the fuck that is? Like you like, what's the purpose of that? If you're
not listening to what I'm saying. What did I just say, Gucci?
But if you know externalities equate to the cost, the impact, why the fuck would you spend so much time trying to argue around something that
I'm not arguing that anymore. I've let it go.
After 30 minutes, you did.
Okay, yes, but you haven't.
Because you
could have let it go as well. But I'm the one that didn't let it go. But it takes two to hold on to something, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so now I'm trying to move on.
Okay, move on.
What I'm saying is, and I'll try to articulate it one more time, and if you could just listen. The reason why you would articulate it's an externality.
You just said you gave it up. Why are we going back?
I've given up on the argument and I'm just trying to articulate a point.
Can we talk about the environment and all this other stuff? Because that's what
the environmental impacts are an externality.
And now there's not food. Now there's not food priest. Now there's not that's you did that.
Now that you got, but you
use
allow me to, okay.
But you said it's mine. That's not mine.
Can I make my statement?
Can you correct what you just said?
No.
Well, that's not my AI definition. You use AI, so I use the same thing you use.
And I let it go. And you were like, it's AI, so I took it off the screen. I kept it moving. No. So again, allow me to say, if you will allow me, but if you don't, I'll bring it up some other time. If you don't understand externalities, you don't understand capitalism. Externalities.
Who doesn't understand
again, externalities are the negative impacts of business that business doesn't have to pay for, such as the automobile industry. Its product causes particulate matter in the air and causes great lung cancer, asthma, and several respiratory issues for millions of people. But the automobile industry has no obligation and pays none of that cost of it. So lung cancer and respiratory diseases and like asthma are an externality to the automobile industry. Now, when you look at the coal mining industry, these pollutions and all these other harmful effects that are going to happen, the government and the local citizens end up having to pay that cost. But if the industry does not have to pay that cost, it is an externality to the coal industry, the nuclear power industry. Malignancy, metastatic cancer is an externality if they don't have to pay the cost. So when we are talking about the coal industry and what perspective it is, it's really doesn't weigh on the coal industry saying all these negative things. Carbon emissions, the automobile industry,
who's looking for the coal? Who's looking for
fracking and natural gas industry, the oil industries have ruined the fucking planet. Global warming, and they're not paying the cost for that. So global warming is an externality of the fossil fuel industry.
I really don't understand.
Who pays the cost for the environmental damage of the mining companies?
I just told you.
Who?
The people living in that environment.
Who created the problem?
The people who brought the industry.
Are the people who created the problems the one who have to pay the cost for it?
I said the people who are paying for it. So let me tell you this again. Stop for a second. When you create a business comes to you to sell you something. They might sell you a job, status, or whatever, right? They bring in something to your community in exchange for something, right? So if they take land and they do something to the land, your ass is going to pay for what they're doing. They're, like you said, they're not going to pay it. Right. So whether you call it an externality, which it is to get in this business, the cost is what the people have to pay. So for instance, when I'm in Eastern Kentucky and they let these people mine under their fucking land, the cost is when your house sink, you won't pay for that shit. It's going to be you. When you have sludge ponds in your fucking yard, you paying for that. When your whole family in a holler got black lung, you paying for that shit.
I agree.
So
with everything you just said, I agree.
So that's all I'm saying. Like, so yes.
So can you answer my question?
What's the question?
Do the people who pay for the problem, are they the ones who pay? The people who profit from creating the problem, do their profits go to repairing the damage?
Do the people who created
the problem?
Let me. Do the people create the problem? You asking me? The people who create the problem, do any of their profits goes for paying for paying for solutions for the problem? That's what you're asking? Well, if you let them tell it, yes, but no. So they'll say that they do particular things to help out and combat costs and fix issues, but then they don't. So no, they don't pay for the problem. They think they do. So they believe that they are doing things to help the environment after they fuck up the environment.
Let me state something. You couldn't have capitalism without externalities. If multinational corporations, that's the whole point of limited liability, LLCs. If the meat industry or its other companies that are integral to the meat industry like McDonald's had to pay for all of the colon cancer treatment that their product caused, they could not generate profits. If the coal industry had to use the revenues that it generated to pay for all of the environmental and health and human costs, they could not generate profit. So the reason why we have to start educating our people about externalities, because externality essentially delegitimizes capitalism. If externalities were not allowed to happen, if companies were not allowed to shunt the consequences of doing their business off on communities, off on the government, off on affected people, then but that's why profit is theft. So it's not enough to simply say the cost, because like you said, if you say the cost, and if you simply explain it as the cost, then they can't come in with money and say, okay, we'll do some programs, we'll pay for this and pay for that. But the reality is,
but they can't do that. They can't do that either. No, but this is why they can't do that, right? So whenever we're doing mountaintop remover.
Wait. They can't do what?
You just said all they have to do is just throw. When you use cost, they're gonna say, well, they could just throw money at it.
No, that's not what I said. Listen, I'm gonna move on because I didn't say all they can do. I tried to.
No, I didn't say all. You said they can do that. You said when you use cost.
I said okay.
When they use cost, they could just do this. And what I'm saying is, no, they can't do that, because, for instance, with mountaintop removal, when they say the plant life and all these things and the vegetation are going to go away.
You're arguing against something I didn't say.
What I'm saying is, I don't think if you use cost, people won't understand that there's an environmental cost to these things.
People will understand it's an environmental cost.
They've been understanding before we was born.
There's an environmental cost. If you look at I've been part of the green movement for 30 years. And the environmental ecology and many of the Black organizations that I work for, the first thing I would do when I would join an organization is say, we got to have an ecological environmental component to Black liberation. And the first thing you do when people really believe, in the biggest flaw, the biggest fallacy within the green movement is that it can coexist with capitalism and that these costs can somehow be paid. So when you explain to them, they say, hey, even if the company comes and say, we're going to restore, we're going to have a Superfund site and the corporation is going to be fine and they're going to have to pay this $1 billion to clean up the sludge and all that shit. And all they did when U.S. corporations were being charged for the environmental damage that they did, and they did a lot of environmental cleanup. And people are like, okay, now we have good neighbor policies and all that. All the fuck those companies did was pack up and move overseas and find an environment that didn't have environmental regulations. Because it's not just about them trying to clean some shit up or paying the cost out of their profits or their pockets. It's the fundamental fact is that the world cannot sustain capitalist, profit-driven production and distribution and accumulation.
Capitalism.
So when we talk about the cost, people will say, well,
implicit cost.
Maybe I'm willing to pay the cost if we can get some good jobs.
No.
Which is what every fucking body says.
No.
All right,
if you're saying in order for you to have this mind here, your water is going to be dirty, you won't be able to use the water. You would have to ship water from out of the country. Somebody would say, no, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to sacrifice this thing for that thing. But of course, we're not looking for the coal company to tell you the consequences. That's not what they do. But you're looking for the people who know their environment and who wants to thrive in their environment to say this leads to that. And again, saying something, this is the cost of those things, also can say like the cost of fossil fuels, this type of way, using it, producing it, not to have subsistence engagement, but for have massive profits. That's not sustainable. That's going to cause problems for everybody except the capitalists, because they ask to just fly out here and not deal with it. So when Gary Drummond in Colombia is living all the way in the US and fucking up the La Guajira region in Colombia, he don't give a fuck what's happened to those people. When Don Blankenship is doing the same shit in West Virginia, he can fly his helicopter to his fucking house and he don't have to worry about all that shit down there. He can fly his helicopter somewhere to get clean water and fly the bitch back. So yes, he's not impacted by it, but the people who he trying to sell those jobs to, because he needs those people to work those jobs, he's gonna say, this is what you get. And they're gonna say, okay, what do we have to give up to get what we get? And again, spending 45 minutes to say cost can't be used in that sentence, I'm just not sure.
You keep complaining about doing it. Listen, man. Listen, Geechee. Okay, we can move on.
There's no need. The event over. We already had an hour. We ain't even covered half of the thing in the. But yeah.
Hey, you know, our audience is paying the cost.
They ain't paying the cost according to you. There's no cost.
Yeah, there is cost because we're not a capitalist enterprise and there's no profit being generated. So we all pay the cost together because we're engaged in cooperative.
You do know in the future, if you allow me to finish and you catch all of whatever I'm saying, you can correct it. Then you could respond to something else in it. But 9 times out of 10, if we're talking or if I'm talking, and if I say one word that you disagree with it, you throw the whole thing off and you'll be like, it has to be this way. And I'm like, no, I'm using this word. Well, no, it got to be this because you don't understand this. And then we go into this whole last thing. And then obviously your fans going to do your fan shit. But at the end of the day,
it's all a conspiracy against you. Don't
no,
worry.
No, you got particular fans. So I'm saying your fans gonna do the fan shit. But obviously, people in the chat was understanding what I was saying, and also
I understood what you were saying.
I hope so.
But I was trying to take you further, but you want to stay locked in.
I don't want to go further.
Everybody, I tapped on your door I tapped on your little shack like
I don't want to be.
I came a knocking and you refused to run.
I don't want to be smart and
conscious to run away with me. So what can I do? I have to leave you behind.
I want to be the lower level conscious.
More.
Keep me behind. I want to be the lower level conscious. I don't want to be the elevator.
I try. Listen, it's my obligation.
No, you don't. No, I don't even want to
take people from to the whole next level. It didn't work. I'll try again in the future.
I don't want the cost. I don't want the cost. I don't want the cost associated with being the smartest Diallo. You can pay that cost yourself, bro.
Okay.
I'd rather be Geechee not so smart. So let's go.
Well, congratulations. You've succeeded.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Anyway, so
you know,
I don't really want to talk about that shit because we don't got a lot of time, but I was trying to go.
We got 50 minutes.
50. We already at an hour. But this is what I wanted to ask, right? So again, there's a lot of
shit. This is a 1 hour show?
1 hour, about 15 minutes.
I didn't know I thought it was 2 hours. Good. Hey. You know, I don't want to extend hours. I'm sorry. I thought we had. So now that I understand we're gonna do an hour, I will. That's why you was always like, man, why you put all this shit on the sheet?
Yeah.
I apologize. I don't think that was clarified.
So this is what I wanted to get to real quick. And
so we're not doing Fat Joe FBA.
I just felt like it was a lot of stuff that I wanted to cover here. But I mean, if you want to go to, I ain't gonna have much to say because I don't really understand.
I'm sitting talking to a man whose birthday is a national holiday. So who am I to tell you what for? So where are we going then? Since we ain't gonna deal with this, because I think it needs to be talked about because everybody's taking the wrong position. Where are we at?
I don't know.
What else did you want to get to?
Well, I was trying to finish with I mean, remember I said like
you want to keep talking about costs and externalities, and then blame me for keeping it going. That's what we'll do. Keisha's like, nah, I want to argue about what I keep complaining we need to stop arguing about. Let's go.
Tell me what I was gonna say.
You were going to say that the hood don't need to hear externalities, and externalities is interchangeable with cost, and it's okay to use their language and their framing.
Who's they?
Things that we're trying to transform. The capitalist.
Who's they?
The capitalist. The owners of the means of production. The people who own the mines versus the people who work the mines.
Oh, that's their name. They name it that.
But we can't. I mean, I put Fat Joe on the cover, so we got to talk about this. It's just false advertising.
Go ahead. You can talk about him.
So, if you're aware, Fat Joe, there's been an ongoing debate about the origins of hip hop, and Tariq Nasheed came up with the documentary with several prominent hip hop figures asserting that hip hop was by, for, and of foundational Black Americans, or FBA, and that Tariq is founding an offshoot of the ADOS movement called the FBA because of his fallout with the founders of the ADOS. And he basically is trying to assert that Black Americans are an isolated, specific, and special group, and basically hostile to other Black groups specifically, or other Black demographics as they define them. So anyway, Fat Joe has asserted that hip hop did not have what you might call a uniracial or unicultural origin, meaning the slums of the South Bronx, predominantly Black slums of the South Bronx. But he says it has a multicultural origin that includes people he defines as Latino or Hispanic, and that Black people are not the sole originators, the sole founders, or the sole driving force behind hip hop. And I put in there two wrongs. I called the show Two Wrongs Don't Make a Right, because Fat Joe is wrong and FBA is wrong. First of all, this is a trick we've fallen into as African people, where we put our race up against ethnicities and nationalities. There is no such thing as a Latino race or a Hispanic race. And if you go up to the average Latino person or Hispanic person and you ask them their race, ethnicity, and nationality, you'll find that they confuse those things. They'll often say that their ethnicity and their race is the same thing. And so you say Black and Hispanic. But that is a confused assertion, because a Black person can be also Hispanic. It's kind of like with the mainstream feminists talk about women and minorities, as if there aren't minority women. And so they like to divide or atomize these groups in order to manipulate and weaken them. So a Hispanic or Latino person, like if you go to Peru, you will find several Asian people who speak Spanish, who've been in Latin America for generations and held prominent positions within the society and culture and politics, but they are Asian, but they're just as Latino or Hispanic. You'll also find African people, indigenous people, and straight up bona fide white folks. And so when Fat Joe asserts that Latinos or Hispanics are part of hip hop culture and it wasn't just Blacks, he does not specify the race, because there were in hip hop, if you go back and listen to the records that came out way back before they even la da 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 da, hey, you know, your real hip hop, you'll find the West Indian influence, reggae, roots reggae, dance hall influences, but you'll find that hip hop has multiple Black ethnicities, has multiple groupings of people, but it is still Black. It is a continuation of other Black art forms. But what ethnic groups or nationalities were those Black people? It's New York. So if you go to New York, I hung out with mad Black folks that were from all over the world. In fact, the Black Americans were the minority. They were the minority. Most Black people I knew Black folks from Guyana, Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti. And if you interact with the average Black person, especially in New York City, and you go 2, 3, 4 generations back, so the reality is you have two people, Fat Joe, who is a conquistador. And that's another thing. I don't understand why Black people are so in the United States refuse to acknowledge the racial realities of Latin America and the Caribbean. Latin America was a genocidal settler colony, just like the United States. The Spanish and the Portuguese did in Latin America what the British and the Germans did in the United States. They did the same thing. They went there, exterminated the natives, brought enslaved Black people to work for their wealth, engaged in widespread rape and assault to change the phenotype and demographics of the population. And then those population of genocided, enslaved, and raped people, they begin to classify them and create false hierarchies amongst those people, to create hierarchies amongst those people. And then we fight each other based on those artificial hierarchies and distinctions. But when a person who did that, can you imagine that every European from the United States, every white person from the United States moves to south of the border, and they go from being the white oppressor to being a person of color, a minority group, a protected allied minority group? A white man comes from Latin America or the Caribbean and arrives in the United States, and because English isn't his first language, we somehow feel like, oh, he's no longer a white man. And he can even call us niggas, which is absolutely absurd. So it's ironic that two false identities, because Latino and even the term Hispanic and Latino, they don't even exist in Latin America. They were a political group created here in the United States for various nefarious reasons back in the Nixon administration. But I won't go too deep into that. But the reality is you got Tariq, who's bastardizing and manipulating our heritage in order to create not just a rift between Africans and so-called Latinos, but he's trying to create a rift between Black people in the Caribbean, Black people in continental Africa. He's trying to itemize Black people of U.S. citizenship in order to create an isolated and identified group for his own exploitation and create hostilities between this group. So you got one person who's trying to build up a false identity of foundational Black American, which is a baseless, absurd identity. And then another person with a captured identity, I'm hip hop, I'm from the streets. When he's a white man from Latin America, he's a goddamn conquistador from Latin America who's saying nigga in our face like it's cool. And so you have these two, that's why I say two wrong, two inaccurate, dysfunctional, one individual, and Tariq and his groups of two absurdist people, and Black people are taking sides. And the most tragic thing of this is this conflict, and because Fat Joe has been so racist, Fat Joe has been so disrespectful and racist to African people, that it's giving Tariq, who is a con man, anti-Black con man. I have to remind you every time this man comes up of the things he's done and said, especially against African women. We're talking about Black women could give up some, slavery was not as bad for Black women as it was for Black men, because Black women under slavery could give up some pussy to master and get special privileges, and Black men didn't have that option. And pimping our ancestors' research, like Dr. Yosef and John G. Jackson and John Henry Clark, pimping our ancestors' research to make these shitty ass documentaries. So the worst thing about this conflict, that it is elevating Tariq Nasheed and and his FBA, foundational Black American bullshit, to a level that we shouldn't allow it to be elevated to. And because we often have this difficulty that we see a conflict and we can't identify, well, our interest doesn't lie in either of these conflicting parties, in these two warring parties. Our interest doesn't lie in, but people are always want to pick sides in a conflict and think one side represents them and the other one doesn't. Oh, I'm against Kamala. Well, you must support Trump. I oppose Trump. You must be a filthy Democrat. You know, someone was just asking me about the conflict in Syria. And I'm like, yeah, you know, Assad must be a good guy if the West is against, you know, like sometimes there are no good guys in a conflict. You might have, even if you got vested interest in the outcome of a conflict, that doesn't mean your side is good. So that is the ultimate thing that I really regret, that I see people taking positive positions on or throwing their weight and support behind Tariq Nasheed, because Fat Joe has been so racist and despicable.
Is it identity reductionism, or is that what's happening?
What is that?
People are just focusing on identity, that this man is Black, dark skin, and there's a lighter person who's arguing with him, and so we just stick up with the Black folks.
No, I don't think it's that. I think that it is that Black people have this idea about hip hop and want to hold on to hip hop, which that is a whole nother discussion, because that's a whole nother discussion that I have to talk about. But I'm willing to take a breath. Geechee's the one who said he didn't want to talk about it, but I said that's what the topic was. In the future, if there's something you don't want to discuss, when I tell you about it before the show, you can say, hey, I don't want to cover that, but don't have me make a whole thing around it and then not.
Oh, I didn't have you make anything.
Huh?
I didn't have you make anything. I just was going with the run sheet and in the order that we were
Yes.
going.
Okay. So you didn't make me make anything, but I made it. I shared it with you and you didn't object to it. But then we go live and you're like, I don't want to talk about it.
No, what I said was I wanted to. So I had stuff about Fat Joe. I had stuff about somebody calling FBA a radical Black nationalist group, which I think is wild. And I wanted to even know the tenets and what the objective of FBA is. And then, yeah. So I prepared to talk about it, but I also prepared to talk about the other things on the list. And so what I was saying was I wanted to finish that conversation. I wanted to actually
conversation did we not finish?
Well, I actually, like I said, I had notes of all the things that I was talking about around environmentalism, coal, energy production, and all those other things.
But you were the main one saying, let's move on from that.
Listen, I want you to pin what you just said just now at hour and 2023. When you go back, you're not going to see me one time say, let's move on from it. In fact, you saw people from the chat saying, let's move on from it. We move on, we on. And I was like, no, I actually had points that I wanted to get to. So I never once said that I was going to move on from it. In fact, you even joked and say, I want to still talk about it. So I never said I was going to move. Yeah. So,
but I joked and said you still want to talk about it because I was under the impression.
No.
That you didn't want to.
But what I'm saying, that's what happened. You frame, I joke, I want to talk about something, but I never actually even thought about arguing about costs and externalities. I actually wanted to talk about all of the things that involve what I wrote around about mining, energy production, and I even led with, I was like, this is the conversation that I was trying to lead you and Avi into. But again, we didn't get to that conversation because the argument around cost and externality took 40 minutes. So it's not like I am saying, oh, I didn't want to cover this. I was like, no, this is what I plan to talk about the most because I had the most notes for, but the other stuff, I didn't have a lot to contribute. So it's not that I wasn't going to talk about it. It's just that, I wasn't going to spend an hour talking about Fat Joe because I don't even know. I just saw the video earlier. I don't really know what they're arguing about because I didn't see it. And so when I looked it up, all I saw was Fat Joe calling them some broke niggas or whatever. I don't know what that means.
The reason I have Fat Joe fighting with an Aztec is because the person fighting with the Aztec was a conquistador. And I think that our relationships with the people we identify as brown or Latino is not rooted in history and the realities of Latin America. African people have made the mistakes is that when we see other groups targeted by the dominant white majority, we tend to hold fealty with that group. And we've done this for several generations, over a century. When the Irish came here, Irish were under severe discrimination and abuse from the British and the other Northern Europeans. And so Black people felt that we had kinship with the Irish. And even if a little known part of the Haitian Revolution is that when the Haitian Revolution got into full stir, many of the Irish workers in the Caribbean wanted to unite and hold solidarity with the Irish. And we understood that the Irish had spent centuries under British colonization. But then we turned to find out that as soon as they got their white card and they were allowed to be white, they went against Black people with as much vitriol and racism as the Anglo-Saxons, the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, even though they were generally Catholic. And if you go back in history, you'll see many of the racist Jim Crow signs said no Negroes allowed. They also said no dogs, no Negroes, no Catholics, and no Irish. And that's also, we had the same thing with a lot of the Asian migrant communities who came into our communities because of the United States imperialism in Vietnam, in Korea, with the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Hmong people. Many Laotian people came to this country as refugees and settled into our communities. And you'll see that certain uprisings, Black people are like, well, they're targeting our communities with hair salons and stores, and they mistreat us in. And we had a Black shop owner shoot a Black child in the back of the head for shoplifting. So the same thing happens with not just Latin Americans. So when you look at Latin America is discriminatory, it is racist, it is anti-African, and it is anti-Black. Argentina, Chile, Brazil, Puerto Rico. Dr. Ben grew up in Puerto Rico. And he said the Jim Crow that when he came to the United States and experienced Jim Crow, it was familiar to him because Puerto Rico had the same type of color caste system. Even in Cuba, one of Fidel Castro's objectives in Cuba was to end the white hegemony and discrimination against Black people. They literally had Black people sitting in the back of the bus in Cuba, even after the Cuban Revolution. But when they come here, they get automatic brown status instead of trying to find out, okay, we know your nationality, we know your ethnicity, but what is your racial identity? What is your racial allegiance? Because they literally go from discriminating and abusing Black people in Latin America and then come to the United States and got Black people marching in the streets for their migration rights. Now, I agree that Black people should be in opposition to Trump's migration party. But I say we have to look at race, class, and ideology. And I vote full solidarity with Latin American communists, Latin American revolutionary, Latin American leftists. But the vast majority of them are just as imperialist, just as support and embrace white hegemony as much as the next person. So we have to determine, and I had one friend from Cuba, and I said, do you consider yourself indigenous or do you identify more with the Spaniards? Because he was an obvious mix. And he was like, I'm a Spaniard, I'm a conquistador. We hate the natives down there. It's the same thing in Mexico. The racial hierarchy in Mexico is hardcore and fixed. And the indigenous people in Mexico are oppressed by the Mexicans who identify as white. And so are the Black people. And so we should not know a Black person who understands the structure and mentality and politics and history of Latin America can ever be surprised by Fat Joe. And I've had more than one debate about Black people telling me it's okay for Latin American people to say the N-word because they be around us and they blah, blah, blah. So I just think we need to be clear on that. And so that when we do form alliances with non-Black populations, which I do say is necessary and appropriate, we don't go so blindly or ignorant of who we're engaging and how to engage, and we're in a better position to ask the right questions. And Leonard, this is a lie. FBA is not about reparations. When you look at their strategy and tactics and what they intend to do with reparations, it goes far beyond reparations, because reparations itself is a means to an end that y'all like to ignore. And that's it. That's all I wanted to share with the FBA versus Fat Joe. We don't have a dog in that race. Don't support FBA in your rejection, because they're both wrong.
So I really don't know what I've heard about them, but I really don't know much about FBA's agenda, other than like, even when I was reading something about it, it seems like they acknowledge that they are African or something like that.
Well, no black person or a black person with a black phenotype can deny that they're African. But the thing about foundational Black American, which doesn't make any sense, but basically they're saying it's just another way saying Black people who endured the atrocity of slavery. And we're only dealing with the Black people who went through the atrocity of slavery within the United States. Because even if you talk about slavery, Africans in the Caribbean were enslaved. Africans in Brazil, the majority of Black people who were enslaved in the Western Hemisphere were in Brazil. There are more Africans enslaved. So they're dealing with specifically. And another thing, many Black people who were enslaved in the United States ended up in Nova Scotia. There are also large populations of enslaved Black people who were enslaved living in West Africa and Liberia.
Is this really their leader, though?
Tariq, yes, he's the founder. And so it's not even about Black people who went through the slavery in the United States, because there are large populations of Black people who were enslaved in the United States. Remember, there was an open trade of Africans between the Caribbean and the United States. And they brought many slaves, and they would drop slaves off in the Caribbean to have them trained or oriented before they brought them to the U.S. plantations and so on and so such. Like I said, there is a large population of Africans in Nova Scotia, the African Baptists up there. They are actually descendants or went through the slavery experience. So their population is Black people who endured the atrocity of slavery and still hold U.S. citizenship, which is a very small population of the overall victims of the Ma'afa, or the Western slave system. And what the FBA basically does and piggybacks off of is that the civil rights movement was about political and social integration, giving Black people access to white spaces and giving Black people access to white institutions. The FBA is now economic integration, basically saying give Black people reparations, and we will use that reparations to better situate and elevate ourselves within capitalism under white hegemony. FBA is one of the first major Black movements in ADOS that are at their core patriotic. They want to say, hey, don't give us this because we want to punish America or stand, but we embrace America. And all that America is, our core identity, our core point of organizing and connecting with each other is our U.S. citizenship. And you'll see in their literature, the only thing they want to change about America is how America treats its Black citizens. But you see they align with mass deportation and other Western imperialist and capitalist policies. The organization that gave birth to or defecated FBA out, ADOS, one of the co-founders literally said, our mission is to be made white, to give Black people equal status and standing and resources to white people in the United States. And we are willing to either embrace or overlook U.S. imperialism, U.S. relationships and treatments of Black people who do not hold citizenship status. And they even come out and protest and stand against Black people from the Caribbean, Latin America, from the African continent receiving any type of redress, resources, support, or opportunities or concessions from the United States. Whether that is an African actress playing a role in a Hollywood movie, or a immigration stand for Haitians being able to come here and work. It is a jingoistic reactionary group. And that's why you'll find more often than not, they align with MAGA and the other jingoistic hostile entities. It is the FBA movement is a regression of Black consciousness, Black identity. It is a horrendous regression, but it is so attractive to the masses of Black people because we've had unadulterated propaganda into the capitalist system. And basically ADOS and FBA, the most attractive thing about it is the windfall. They're going to get a windfall. And so Black people that embrace that and say, hey, I'm a special, I ain't like these other niggas, and because I'm not like these other niggas, you should give me some money. That's the fundamental appeal of it. And so it speaks to self-hatred. It speaks to our desires to elevate within capitalism. It speaks to our desire to get close and live amongst and share accommodations with our oppressors.
So they're in the ingrown model minority class. They ain't like them other niggas.
Yeah, ultimately, in so many words. And you'll find that whenever they're beefing, generally they're always, this is one of the first time that I've seen foundational Black Americans, they attack all of their enemies seem to be the same people that are hostile, that the right-wing racist reactionary. They all have the same enemies. These foreigners coming in, taking what's ours. And when they hear white people say they're coming to take our country, these FBA Negroes think they're included in that are, yeah. And like I said, a more accurate term for these FBA ADOS people would be like-minded minorities. In the book, The Turner Diaries, and when they talked about the Great Race War, the races all understand that there are so many Black people that will unite with a white nationalist takeover. Because it's Christian, it has family values, it's about a good day's pay for a good day's work. So there are a lot of components to fascism that are very attractive to Black people, because many of us underwent the indoctrination in this country for generations. And most Black people's hostility for the United States is not that it oppresses people, not that it destroys ecosystems, not that it's unjust. Many Black people, even so-called conscious Black people, their number one gripe with America is that they're excluded. That's their main problem. And when you're dealing with a Black person who's excluded from the system versus a Black person who wants to take down the system, they're eventually going to reach an impasse. I'm mad at the system. Well, I'm mad at it too. I want to fight the system. I want to fight it too. And are you fighting to dismantle the system, or are you fighting to be a part of it? And that's a distinction we often don't bother making, because neither one of us are really progressing. And then you find another Black person that's mad at the system, and I'm mad at the system. We can unite around that. And that's not enough to unite with. I'm not talking about Black liberals. I'm talking about Black conservatives. The ADOS and FBA are an ultra conservative organization, not a liberal one.
Well, I can't conserve no more energy. Let's wrap, Cap. Who's this one person? Did you get to them who said that?
No, I Manifesto. You're a moderator at Diallo Kenyatta. This is a whole different channel, which we do need moderators for this channel as well. So this is a different channel. I didn't remove your moderator status because you've been you and James have been the best moderators anybody. Like, if I was a spiritual man, I'd pray and give thanks that I have. You've been a great moderator over there and checking shit. But it's also kind of spoiled me because I know I don't really have to police the chat because I have such good moderators. But now, yeah, so I don't think we have any moderators for African World Order, which is a different channel. No, I did not remove your moderation. This is a completely different, separate channel.
Don't need no hateration on the moderation.
So, did you have any more comments or questions you wanted to respond to?
Mediator skills. What the who the fuck is this? Who's they?
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Do they pay you extra for your mediator skills? I don't know who they is. Nah, I ain't got nothing else I want to respond to. We yeah. Just be kicking it.
Hold on. I will not let anyone from diaspora disrespect my people or go against our interests, but we have given real money to help people on the continent.
Who?
What the hell are you talking about?
Who's that? Who's we? Who's all these we and theys, man?
And you see how they'll talk about, you'll find with these ADOS and that you would think that our only opposition is, their only problem that white people is that they won't give them money. That's their only issue with white people. You know, and all their other smoke. Yeah, these people come from Africa, disrespect us. All these desperate refugees, all these colonized and oppressed people are our true enemy.
Oh, I guess I didn't even see your thumbnail, but maybe your thumbnail got all the trolls in here.
Huh?
Maybe your thumbnail and the title got all the trolls in it. I didn't see the thumbnail or the title.
You know what? I wish they were trolls, because a troll is basically someone who says anything to get a rise out of you or a response, and they don't necessarily internalize what they're saying or even believe what they're saying. But I think a lot of these ADOS and FBA people, they speaking from the heart. They're not really trolls. They're sincerely articulating what they truly believe.
I think ADOS people can be trolled too. Or as Tariq call people who troll them tethers or something like that?
No, I think his term for tethers are people who have real stake and real tie in this land.
Oh.
Yeah. I think militant black capitalist or black people who assert that our ultimate goal in this struggle is to get our cut of the spoils of empire.
Now I see
because
I see your thumbnail. It looks good too.
Huh?
Your thumbnails looks really good actually.
Which one?
The one with two wrongs don't make a right, Fat Joe. That's what brought him in here, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I see how Tariq Nasheed is extremely corrupt and extremely, like I said, he's regressive, reactionary, and harmful to our community. And black people, it's low racial esteem because he has done and said so many things to disrespect the black community. And he's an opportunist in the purest form because, you know, before he went from being a pimp gangster to a pro-black, pro-African revolutionary to a jingoistic, isolationist,
I don't think he
patriotic black American.
He did none of that. We did that. We put him in those categories. He didn't. I don't think he. In fact, when he did Hidden Colors, I don't think he was claiming any of that. I think he was just.
Have you seen any of the Hidden Colors documentary?
I think I saw the first one. I saw some of those interviews,
and it wasn't in praise of the antiquity, African antiquity.
I mean, again, I think the direction of the film, that don't mean, I feel like he was getting money off of that. So just as well as he was, you know, I guess he thought that was an opportunity for him to get on. Because I even remember,
and it was.
Yeah, so
and you're right. You're absolutely right. We are responsible for many of these demagogues.
Yeah,
we are responsible. You're absolutely right. We the masses of the people who support and give these people's attention. I mean, I keep looking up, and how the fuck is Candace Owens getting all these interviews on black platforms and shit? And who the fuck is looking at and listening to anything Candace Owens said? Same thing with Dr. Fubar and Tariq, not shit. It's the same thing. But he calls tethers at me. So there's this thing that anchor baby, white folks used to accuse anybody being in the country, they have these anchor babies. Even though Trump's youngest son is a fucking anchor baby. Barron Trump is an anchor baby. You know, but yeah, so I don't know. And he said no one's following Tariq Nasheed, and that's what a lot of people say. Oh, you know, I'm doing this of my own volition. But like I said, I think the worst thing about this conflict is that it has raised the profile and given some sense of legitimacy to one of the corrupt most corrupt public figures we've had in our community. But we're very vulnerable to corrupt. The corrupt figures always get more love and support and go further. And because they're willing to sell people pipe dreams. And a lot of black people, you know, they're like, oh, cut the check. We're going to get a check. Everything else will fall into place. If black folks get reparation, everything else will fall into place. I mean, they're just as wrong as the black. Once we get our right to vote, everything will fall in place. Once I could drink out of that damn fountain, or once Harvard amends, or once we get a black president, these are called panaceas. And when it's a holistic, our oppression, the condition of the world is a holistic, and we cannot lock our liberation struggle to one region, because the system that oppresses us is a global system. So you need a global movement of liberation to fight a global system of oppression. And if you're like, I only care about what's happening in America, I don't care what's happening over there, then you just determine that, hey, I want to be an asset to the system. I want to align and be a well-paid asset of the system. I'm not an enemy of the system. So you have no legitimacy. So anyway, I appreciate you coming through, bro.
For sure. What you got going on this week?
Nothing. It's New Year's. So my oldest son is coming through and my granddaughter is coming through. We're gonna play some games and eat some junk food and hang out, bring in the New Year's, which I'm kind of suspicious because he's a father now. Well, when my oldest son is like, I'm gonna be home for New Year's. This is like, since he graduated high school, this is his first time like coming to hang out with his parents on New Year's. Usually he's out partying or something. So I don't know whether he's gonna ask us for something or tell us something. I'm suspicious, but I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. So I'm gonna have my kids here, and we gonna chill and chill. I mean, I got some work to do, but mainly I'm a cool and relax.
Don't be negative, man.
Yeah, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna play some games and just hang out and bring in the New Year's. That's it. Hang out with the baby, the new baby, new Kenyatta just dropped. So that's it.
Word.
So what about you?
Oh, I just got back to Atlanta. I was up with my mother and family.
How's everybody?
Everybody cool. Everybody cool.
You give them my love?
Yeah, all of them.
You lying ass.
I did. My nieces, they doing their thing, thriving and surviving. And then this weekend just got some stuff to do in the community. I'm working on this pain point research to try to develop a curriculum off of people's areas of frustration. Our study group is studying. I'm actually excited about this because we interviewed August Nims, but I really like his book, and so we're studying this starting next week. The ballot, the streets are both. So yeah, we'll be starting that next week. But yeah, that's it.
Oh,
trying to get shit
time. Well, don't look for me until after the new year. I'm going.
New Year's Wednesday. That's
I know, but hey, I don't look. I don't take it for granted. Getting 2-3 days off, shit. At least that's what I said. That's my wife and I. It's like, we're just gonna close these laptops. We're gonna just shut everything down, turn off the phones, and chill this weekend. So hopefully, I'll keep up my side of the bargain. She'll keep up her side.
Absolutely, you can.
And the new year is gonna be busy as hell, and then I got
hit me on Instagram,
travel for work, huh?
I was telling this young sister to hit me on Instagram or Facebook. We'll put you right up in there.
Nice, beautiful. Well, anyway, so we appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all again next Friday.
Yeah. On the 3rd. Oh, never mind. I was about to say I thought I was gonna be gone, but I forgot it's at night, so I won't be. There's one Friday I'm gonna be in DC for this conference, for this thing that I'm gonna miss.
Which Friday?
But I forgot it's not gonna be at night. So,
But you're gonna be in DC, so I know you're gonna be in the streets. Chocolate City. They
hell,
still call DC Chocolate City?
nah, Anacostia was. Well, I mean, I guess it's still part of a chocolate, half a chocolate. But no, not no more.
Yeah, when I was,
They're no more the chocolate city as the Atlanta is the Mecca.
yeah, Atlanta.
The white chocolate.
But is the mass return to Atlanta? Is that still going on?
I don't know. I think we're actually losing the black majority here. They got this thing called the corporate owned or corporate control regime that Maynard started, but Andy Young and the rest of them finished selling off the whole Atlanta to the elite capitalist white boys.
So where are black folks going? Because they also hemorrhaging. Chicago is hemorrhaging black people. New York City is hemorrhaging black people. Detroit, then Ben, Compton ain't even majority black no more. Where black folks running to? Houston?
I don't know where they real
where are we being herded off to now?
Mm-hmm. I want Nas. I could call him Haas. You ain't got to lie, bro. But yeah, you left. This dude left the group and talking about we kicked him out because he was spitting some silly shit that he couldn't defend, and that's on your own shit. But you can always come up and argue your points. Don't do the Diallo in the chats, man. Don't do that.
Oh, that's where we're going. But actually, isn't mass incarceration finally slowing? Now that Hunter Biden ain't gonna be in there. It's high because they got so many long-term inmates, but actually mass incarceration, they say, is going down. And this is one of the first time in the United States where crime, because as crime was going down, incarceration rates were still going up. So now they say in this level, but now
I was about to leave, but I'm gonna send this link to Haas and he can come share his experience.
Okay.
If you want to come on. I don't like doing all the chat talk. You can just come on the screen.
Oh, y'all want to do that? Let's see. You got time for it. See, you ain't got time for nothing constructive.
No, it is constructive. If I let something out on that, don't be lying, huh?
So you want to come in here and fight with barter and build folks? You bring
that's not no barter and build folks. What you talking about? That
ain't
dude.
The study group,
huh?
That ain't the study group.
Nah, he not in it. He not in it.
You kicked him out for talking about China.
See, that's my point. That's why I say he doing Diallo shit in the chat, because that's how y'all move.
No, I'm saying where did you kick him out from?
I didn't kick him out from anything. That's what I'm saying. There you go.
1 minute you ready to go.
When I kick you out, I didn't mean who is Lee? I didn't mean Lee to come on, but go ahead.
Lee is a madman. I guess one of your haters and one of my haters.
Wait, hold one at a time.
Diallo, I'm not a hater, man. Come on, man.
One at a time, Diallo. We got to go. Well, go ahead, Haas. You said what now?
So I remember
when did
it was
I
like
kick you
either
out?
March. What's that?
Did you say you got kicked out the group?
Yeah.
Because the only way people will leave the group is if they don't communicate and don't show up for multiple studies. And then if I'm constantly talking to them and they don't never respond, then we just move them out of the group. But that's nobody's ever actually got kicked out of the group. So I don't know how or when.
So you said I left the group and you said I didn't get kicked out, but now you're saying I get kicked out because I wasn't being responsive.
No, what I said is the only time you said you got kicked out because you start talking about China shit. That's what you said. And I said, you didn't get kicked out the group, you left. And
I didn't leave. I got kicked out.
No. So part of leaving for me is if you're no longer participating, I'm not going to.
That's not leaving. I got kicked out.
However you call it.
If you kicking out non-vegans too, I support that, Geechee. Kick out the non-vegan.
If you don't participate,
it's a lot of people that don't participate in that study group. It's a lot of people who don't participate.
Right.
So,
and the people who don't participate, they don't stay in the group. That's the point.
No. It's so many people that are still in that group who don't participate all the time and don't respond.
Who?
Okay. You can say Erica, Ricky, Ryan.
She's not in the group.
Else.
She's not in the group. She's not in the group.
She's not.
Try another one.
Okay. Who else? Dr. Ball?
Bro, can I tell you something?
He's not in the group either. Try another one.
He was in a group.
And that's my point.
God,
No. Let me
Can I
finish.
give you some advice?
And I'm just saying, all those people are in the group for the longest. All those people are in the group for the longest, though, and they never been kicked out, and they never participated.
Listen, that's the point.
So what's different when I am a new member in the study group and I get kicked out?
That's the point. You're talking and you're making no sense at this point, because all of those people are not in the group for the same reason. When you start participating, you're not in the group anymore. And so you're saying you got kicked out. If you call Jared right now, call Erica right now, or anybody else, they wouldn't say they got kicked out of the group. They stopped participating in the group. So people who are not participating, and the group been running for 6 years. If people are not participating, they're not communicating, then we move on and just engage the people who are. So, and if you say, yo, I want to come back, then you come back. And if you ask, there's a guy named Ty who did the same thing, and then he communicated. He said, "Oh man, like I went out for a couple months, and
so he can come back."
That's my point. But anyway, so
are you coming back, Haas?
So listen.
No, because here's the thing. I feel like kicking someone out just because they're not available.
Let me finish talking. Because Diallo do that. So what I'm finishing. You can call it kicking out. You can call it what you want. What I'm saying is, if you're not participating in the group and you just try to bring Erica and Jared in, they're not in the group either because they don't participate. So there's nobody who's been in the group for months on months on months without communicating and still in the group. That's never happened.
All right. So when I was in the group, I was in the group for like almost 3 months. And I would say, what was it? It was Renee, Ricky Ryan, Dr. Ball, and a few other like BAP members. They were in the group long before I was.
Renee's no longer in the group.
I know, but I'm just saying, for the longest time, those people were not.
Hey,
I'm just saying. No. Here's the other point I want to make too. This is a significant point right here, because just last week, I'm listening to like the Friday morning show, right? And it's like, oh, people don't want to be in these spaces. People don't want to organize this, that, and the third. So when the masses come to these spaces,
it's online.
And like I said, people are
online. That's not organizing.
It's not organizing, but like I said, there's spaces where the masses can participate and learn and so on and so forth. So the thing is, we try to make these spaces online or offline or whatever, and we say, hey, come through, let's get acquainted, let's educate, let's get our PE up or whatever the fuck. And then like, hey, as soon as someone said, hey, I can't make it this week, I'm not gonna keep checking in every week and saying, hey, I got a lot of shit going on.
But you didn't though. So that's the point.
Can I just give an observation as a neutral party?
You can after this. So nobody's asking you to you have to show up every week. Nobody's asked you that. But if there's a stop in communication, I'm gonna assume you no longer want to communicate with the group. Months.
It wasn't months. It was like literally like maybe some weeks.
My point is, if there's a stop in communication, even in inbox, because after the group, we talk inbox too. So if there's not a response, I'm not going to assume that you still want to be in a group. And like I said with everybody, in fact, we said this a couple of times. If you don't participate, we're just going to keep going. You're welcome to come back at any time. That's always been a thing for anybody. So to say that you got kicked out that's on your own. That's on your own thing. And then to lead the point, to try to create a point that you got kicked out because your views on China or whatever the fuck you was talking about. That's your own thing. Like you try to create arguments that you couldn't defend.
I did defend them.
People made you feel uncomfortable, and then you
no one made me feel uncomfortable. Like only reason why I would say uncomfortable, because one, people were being outwardly antagonistic.
Okay.
They were.
Can I make a statement?
People don't want to admit that, but
those people are not here. So whoever was being antagonistic, then
as a neutral,
you on the chat, so you're one of them. But like I said what I said.
As an impartial person, I just got two short things to say. Number one, the argument is irrelevant if you're not seeking to come back. Number two, seems like everybody, all the men, I can't speak for the sisters, but all the men you mentioned that got kicked out seem to have bald heads and beards, which would suggest a bias.
Who else got a bald head? What the fuck are you talking about?
See, and then he tried to be like, what?
Oh, you talking about yourself? Oh man.
I'm just saying everybody get kicked out.
You ain't never been in the group. What did you talk
about? Exactly, because I got a ball. Exactly. I can't even.
You can't.
I had to hate from outside the club.
You came in the group probably twice when we was engaged in your work.
There's a bias. Brother, either shave the beard or grow some hair.
I can't grow the hair, so
then shave the beard, and maybe you.
I can't. No. I'm keeping the beard. All my
wig.
hair went to my beard.
He has a preference.
Get a lace front. Lace fronts are cheap.
No, I'm good. No.
Can we hear what Lee had to say and then go to bed?
Yeah.
Lee, what'd you want?
Hey, peace and blessings, chat and panel. Real quick, going back to the Fat Joe FBA thing. You said Fat Joe was a conquistador, meaning he's Caucasian lineage. Are you aware that specifically, I know probably other places, probably like Florida and other places, but specifically in the Bronx, that there are people that look like Fat Joe that practice African spirituality and African culture from their Puerto Rican culture?
I've worshipped with them. I've been to the rituals.
Oh.
I've seen. I've been to the shrines. I saw a sister of Latin descent get possessed by the Orisha Shango, and we did the ritualistic dance and all that. Yes, I'm very aware that many Latino people practice Santeria, which is an offshoot of Khan and Yoruba spiritual systems. I am extremely aware. There are even Latin members of the Asar Set Society. I'm very aware that they practice it. But there are also blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryans on the African concrete becoming Babalaos and initiates too. So anybody can practice African religions, just like you got billions of Africans practicing Arab and European religions. So
absolutely, you're correct.
And
you're correct, but it's I said you're correct, but Caucasian people going to the continent is different from a person growing up with that culture, right? From the time they were born and raised. But he doesn't have African culture. He has a Caucasian culture. That's something different. But the point I want to say is this. I agree with you, right, when you said about him using the N-word, right? Unfortunately, certain areas like the Bronx or New York City, which you lived in for a couple of years. I remember one time you told a story about you was on a basketball court and the person said the N-word and then all the black people trying to defend them. Unfortunately, certain areas like New York City are like that. When you go to like down south, say that. I'm sorry, you get that last part.
Listen, when I was I knew Guyanese people, and amongst the Guyanese people, they had certain slurs or certain jokes amongst their ethnic or cultural group. And amongst the West Indian, because I grew up in the Midwest, so I wasn't on either coast. I wasn't nowhere near the ocean. But there was this concept, like, let me give you an example, which I would never use. Like, they would talk about banana boat and shit like that. There are certain insults or in jokes or in discussions that if you respect a culture, ethnicity, or a race, you don't participate in. When I went to Brooklyn College, which was predominantly Jewish at the time, and I went to downstate, State University of New York on Church Avenue, which was also predominantly Jewish or had a large Jewish student body. They would call each other heeb and talk about penny pinching misers. They would use all kind of racial and ethnic digs at each other amongst the Jewish population, which I would never participate in. I don't participate. So as an outsider, even if they're doing it around me, even if I spend time amongst them, even if I know them real well, as a sign of respect and acknowledgement that I'm not fully within this. I don't understand. I've had so many debates with you East Coast cats trying to explain to me why it's okay for a conquistador to call you nigga. But if you call them a Latin American,
that's not my argument.
Or why I should understand. Yes, when I got called the first time a non-black person called me a nigga to my face like it was supposed to be cool, was a person of Latin descent who was white. He was a white Latino. He was a conquistador. And I called him out, and all the black people said I was in the wrong. That's fucking.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that story.
That's low.
Yeah. So my argument is not that at all, because I don't like that, and I agree with that. Matter of fact, I got into an argument, and I'm from the Bronx with a Puerto Rican because he wanted to make a T-shirt with the N-word on it, and I said, "What if I made a T-shirt with say?" And I said, "Spick" on it. And when I said that, he automatically realized, and he didn't come out with a T-shirt. So that's not my argument ever. But what I can't. Yeah, but what I would say. Yeah, what I would say is that since you do understand that some conquistador-looking Puerto Ricans do have or practice African culture, my argument is that in the Bronx at that time, it was some of that energy that was put into the making of hip hop. So my argument is that hip hop was actually a Pan African experience because we had, at the time, the people that were living there, Black Americans, Caribbean, and the actual Puerto Ricans who had some type of African culture contributed to it.
Fat Joe is wrong and Tariq is wrong. Because it is
so that was it. I wasn't trying to argue.
Born from several Pan-African forms of expression.
Yeah, that was it. Because I don't like it either. But I would say, and it's. I'm sorry, y'all. Go ahead.
And there's another component that debate about hip hop. White people have owned and controlled hip hop from its inception. From its inceptions. Anything created by a master automatically becomes property of its slave. So anything an oppressed people create that is not specifically targeted towards their liberation will eventually be captured and controlled by their oppressors. So everything we create artistically, politically, economically needs to be oriented towards liberation, or our descendants will be sitting around debating who founded it and ignoring who the fuck owns it or controls it. So I think it's a stupid debate about who founded everybody. You see the rhythms, the movements, that hip hop is an African art form, just like reggae is an African art form, just like jazz is an African art form, just like samba, capoeira, we are African people. But
I agree 100%.
And the whole reality of colonization is you don't control what belongs to you. That's the reality of colonization. It's not just land and material resources. It's also your cultural and artistic and academic products. So we got ideologies and philosophies. The damn Ho Chi Minh and the Vietnamese were able to do more with Marcus Garvey's teachings than African people were. You got non-African countries all around the world applying philosophies and strategies and tactics of African revolutionaries better than Africans are. But all that to say is, the more problem with living in New York is y'all play this footsie games with these other ethnic groups, and Asian people play that too. Oh, I grew up in the city. I'm from the hood, and you got Asian people using the N word. The moment you pull your eyes, fucking crime. It's low racial esteem. We have low racial esteem, and we allow people to disrespect us. And then when we see other groups of people who don't allow disrespect of them and their group, we get confused. We see the LGBT. Oh, this person disrespected black people and nothing happened, but they disrespect the LGBT or they disrespect the Jews, and then something happened. What about when they disrespected black people? And I always ask the question, when we make those stupid arguments, are you asking for that group to accept as much disrespect as us? Or do you want them to use their power on our behalf to protect us? This is low racial esteem. Nobody that's typically black or African should be using the N-word. And the debate about the N-word internally is our debate to have amongst family members internally. But anybody outside of that core shouldn't dare open their goddamn mouths, or especially have a career based around it. But we have low racial esteem. We think it's affinity and love for us when people disrespect us or exploit our or exploit.
No argument for me there. And as a matter of fact, I want to give you props. Years ago,
I don't care if you pray to Shango, you pray to or you follow Ifa, or you got a shrine to Yemaya, and you pour in libations and giving up offerings, and you got shrines, ancestral shrines. I don't give a damn. Oh, they practice African. I don't give a damn. What the hell that got to do with me? If your practice of African spirituality doesn't translate into you being a staunch anti-racist and fighting all forms of racism, especially coming out of your group, show me the Latin Americans who fight against racism in Latin America. Because when I was in Uruguay, I saw leftist, revolutionary, communist, anti-racist, anti-fa, anti-fascist, anti-Nazi elements in Latin America. They were there. So if you're not aligned with them, you simply, honoring Yemaya or trying to conjure Igun, that don't mean shit to me. It's another form of colonization.
So I would want to give you props for actually speaking out all those years ago on that basketball court. Right? I give you props for that. But the one pushback I would push back on is that it's not an East Coast thing, because I've seen places down south and on the West Coast where you have Caucasians that grew up amongst black people, and the black people in that area allow that Caucasian to say the N word. So what it is, it's more of a let me just I would say, I'm sorry, say that again.
Not around me.
I
There
just
ain't nothing I've ever tried to justify.
well, that's obvious. I just said I gave you props for speaking up. More of us need to do that. But what I'm trying to say, this is a cultural thing within America, period. Whether it's East, West, it's a cultural thing where what they say sometimes, inviting someone to the barbecue, I think is what it said, where they allow people who are non-black to speak in these kind of manners, So again, I agree with you 100%. Real quick, one quick question for you, Dilalo, before I get off. Why, in your opinion, what is with the emergence of FBA, right? Because when you guys were talking, I put a question in the chat, which no one from the FBA side answered. And my question was, how is it that a Jamaican can become known as the godfather of hip hop if FBA was the creator of hip hop? So Tariq Nasheed created FBA in 2019. Before then, we didn't hear nothing about an FBA. These people don't even know the definitions of lyrics.
ADOS. Tariq Nasheed joined ADOS, and there was a clash at the top. It is a scam. It is a long con. When you have short cons where they're trying to get money out of you in a few days, quick credit card thing, then you have long cons that can last decades. FBA is a long con. It is attractive to black people because there has been an ongoing, since the Reagan's 80s, since the 80s, this greed is good, Jordan Greco, Wall Street mentality has infected the black community. Prosperity gospel was a byproduct of that. And when prosperity gospel lost its appeal because of the blatant corruption of the leaders of the prosperity gospel, we moved from prosperity gospel to prosperity politics. So first you will get money by living according to God's law, and now you get money by following the political agenda and regime of FBA and ADOS. It's prosperity panacea, meaning that our problems are due to our poverty, and our solution is ending our poverty by getting a windfall of payment from the U.S. government. But the problem is our poverty is not the source of our oppression. Our poverty is a byproduct of our oppression. And when we fell into oppression, we were materially wealthier than the people who enslaved us. So wealth does not free you. And you look at all these black billionaires under indictments and RICO and all this shit, show you that money doesn't protect us from white folks, because white folks print and define money. So the white people can give every black person $1 billion tomorrow, and then the day after tomorrow completely collapse the fiat currency and move to another fiat or digital currency. So it is the white people having hegemonic power over the world's material resources that we need to end, not white people hoarding the paper that they print, that they dictate to the rest of us we have to use. So anytime you come up with a prosperity movement, hey, follow me and I'll make you rich, you're always going to get a lot of people behind it. It's a get rich quick scheme. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a long.
So how does the hate for other blacks, specifically black African and black Caribbeans, how does that play into it?
Let me tell you, oppressed people all over the world play this game. Colonized people all over the world. They have low racial esteem. Their identity has been obliterated. So then, because you can't bang against the real beast, you look amongst your people to see who am I better than. It's the house nigga, field nigga. I'm in the house, I got a top coat and I got tails, and I get to stay in the house and you out in the field. So I'm better than you when y'all really in the same position. So the same thing, I got me a social security card, a U.S. citizenship, and lineage in this country that dates back to slavery. So you other black folks over there, I'm better than you. So there's all this hierarchy amongst slaves. When we should be targeting the source of our oppression, we target the byproducts of our oppression. That's why we have to be radical and attack all of our issues at the core, because we're just looking at superficial symptoms. If you go to the African continent and you'll find people, the Luos and the Kikuyus, they're beefing. The Tigray and the Eritrea, the Eritreans think they're better than the Beta Israel. You'll find that it's just more tribalism. And the tribalism is failed. Divide and conquer. Everybody claims they understand divide and conquer while they're in the midst of dividing themselves and being conquered. It is a divide and conquer status. And certain individuals, Tariq Nasheed shows up, he gets this money and gets this status because he's doing a disservice to his own people while providing a great service to our oppressors. And that's why he sticks around.
Excellent. Thank you, brother. All right, DG.
Yo, what's up?
I'm sorry. All right, that was an excellent explanation. I appreciate that. DG, Happy New Year, brother Diallo. Happy New Year, my brother. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you.
Happy New Year, bro. Even though it's not the new year, because you're going off the Gregorian calendar, brother.
Hey, I just got one little request. I don't know if this is possible, but I'm not trying to make China a big deal or anything like that. But I hear so many times, not just on on Black Power Media or BLM now. There's a show, was it Jackie Luke Bunn's show, Black Economically Speaking. And I watched that show. It was one episode she did with an associate professor. And it's before, I watched that show, I had this assertion that China isn't communist or whatever. And in that show, Jackie was trying to, smash, put that argument to rest. That's no, these people who are saying China is capitalist or, not being led right or whatever. You know what I mean? But anyway, this professor went on to say, yo, China, the political economy of China is capitalist. So I just wonder, because I watched the show now, it was a rerun I watched or the other live that you had. I think you touched on China momentarily about as long as they circulating dollars, you can call China whatever you want, you know what I mean? Or something like that. So I wonder what your take is on that or what others I really want a real argument. I'm not trying to go on my way to what you call be anti-China. It's just a critique. Because to me, I look at all players on the board, and to me, it's I'm not gonna omit anyone just because they're what is it their opposition to America or whatever. So yeah, if you could touch base on that or just touch on it some other time. But yeah.
I think it would be really good to because I just went back and looked through the text message, and I remember several of the conversation went from the group to my text message, and I kept saying yo, let's have the conversation in the chat because that's where the conversations were had. And so it was a constant invitation back to the group. But because you want to go over that, I can share with Diallo the sources that you was using, because the arguments and the back and forth in the study group was based off of the sources that you sent. So we could do a whole show, or Diallo and you can do a whole show, and y'all could talk about all of the sources and all of your concerns with China. And yeah, so I think that'll be a good show for you to present your sources and articulate your concerns.
Because even when you talk about China, not even just when it comes to it being supposed to be capitalist or communist or whatever, however you want to identify China as, it even comes down to
I don't think nobody serious identifies China as a communist country.
Or socialist, or even socialist. But that being said, even if you want to go further than just the political economy of China, it when it comes down to the Palestine question, China is, what is it? They're in bed with everyone. They're friends with everyone. And to me, I'm yeah, go ahead.
If you want to comprehend China, you got to understand sinocentrism.
Mm-hmm.
And sinocentrism is probably what everything else grows out of. And China is massive. It's 1 billion Chinese. And there is much ideological, cultural, and ethnic diversity in China as you will find anywhere else. But we like to look at these things as a monolith because most of us are introduced to China through the Western media, which somebody was talking about reductionism. So it would be next to impossible to say China is anything and be accurate.
I think that's the point they was making. It was the point they was making.
You can talk about the labor, and there's great differences between rural and
urban
city dweller Chinese, and so it is very diverse. But as a force, the United States likes to be like, this is China, Iraq, we going to war with Iraq, or they'll reduce a nation just this monolith, or they'll even reduce a whole nation to one person. You know,
That's I promise you that was the point that they were making in the chat when they was trying to argue, because Haas was using the Hill. One of the sources was the Hill, and the Hill, which is obviously a pro-American corporate-owned media, had the same argument that they was arguing for a long time. And that's why they brought up the word red baiting. And you say, well, I'm not red baiting because communist. And they were just saying, like, that's the same language that was being used for a period of time of trying to
But to red bait would be the
listen.
call.
I'm not getting into that. What I'm saying is the argument that you was using was the same type of language that was used during the time of red baiting, and that's what they was articulating.
How is it red baiting if you're saying China is capitalist? If I'm saying China is capitalist, that's not red baiting.
We can pull up all the things that you argue.
I know, but you just said,
but what I'm saying is with the arguments that you was making at the time, based off of the sources that you was using. What they were saying was they was calling it the same thing as red baiting. That's just what happened. Oh, no, they were calling, and real quick. So the same thing Dialogist said, where China is not a monolith. That's what they was arguing. Like you can't speak as China is doing this thing.
But like I said,
and they critique him because he started using the same rhetoric that China is putting Africans in debt trap.
I didn't say debt trap.
You didn't have to explicitly said it, but you used the rhetoric and you gave us a source that said debt traps.
No, because one, if you're saying I'm using the same language, that's the Hill that says China is communist or socialist, that's not red baiting.
Listen, you can call it what you want. What I'm telling you is,
not calling what I want.
You use the source. You use the source to try to prove your point. To try to prove your point, and your source actually contradicted you.
I don't think the Hill I use, because I still have like the sources that I used in the note I have. So I don't think I have
let him back in, Geechee. Let him back.
I don't have a problem.
His ego won't allow to say he want to come back, but he want to come back. You know how brothers. You know how we do.
This is the Hill source that he used.
I can't see that. Wait.
Well, I'll just send it. I put literally we had a conversation about his source because his source actually contradicted what he was saying, and that's what they was trying to share with him. And I kept telling him, like, bro, I don't want to have this conversation. Let me finish. I said I don't want to have this conversation one-on-one. You can go back to the group, come back to the group, and finish the conversation.
Let him bring him back.
Cannot come back. Like he can come whenever he wants to. But again, if he tries to turn every conversation into a China thing, people are gonna confront him about whatever he's saying about China.
I would say, Haas, if I was telling you, I would look into sinocentrism. I think understanding sinocentrism will give you a better comprehension of the moves China makes, more so than understanding communism or capitalism. And if you understand the assertions of the Communist Party of China and the policies, internal policies, and China its internal actions versus its external or international relationships and connections often seem contradictory. But if you look at it from the orientation of communism, it will look like contradictory or inconsistent. But if you look at it from the point of view of sinocentrism, it becomes clearer. So anybody,
I never heard that term.
Right.
But go ahead.
And that's the core value, ideology, and objective of the Chinese state. So as an individual, or as a nation, or as a company engaged with the Chinese Communist Party, the government, or any ethnic group or region of China. Because China has a lot of internal conflicts. It is not a unified monolithic country. It has like uprisings and rebellions and
I don't even like assert that at all. Because like I said, like going back to
various ethnic groups and ethnic conflicts. But I would just say, if you look at sinocentrism, and you'd be like, oh, okay.
Okay, if that's a good starting point, I never heard that term, but I'll look into that. Yeah. But like I said, I do have my
make a lot of shit clear to you.
Yeah,
there's all I will say this in books and multiple volumes of text written on the concept and philosophy of Chinese. And I can't speak to the translation because I don't speak Mandarin or the original language, but the translations seem legitimate and to have weight. Anyway, we got to wrap this up.
I'll just say this one last thing. I have the list of my sources that's shared in that group still in my notes because I came in that whole group prepared that Hill source. I don't believe I shared that, but I want to look at that again because, like I said, I have that whole note of my list of sources. So that whole Hill argument, I don't even believe I shared that. So But yeah, I'll let that go. All right. But thank you. I appreciate the show. And yeah, peace.
I appreciate you staying over, Geechee, to hammer some stuff out, man. You're a real champion. And I'm glad to see people got to see a side of you that they don't know is there, that I often have to see.
What's the side that they saw?
Yeah, you didn't see that in the chat. You can get down when you got to get down.
What you mean?
Everybody thinks you're just such a moderating and even keeled guy.
What is that supposed to mean?
But you throw down when you feel like you got to throw down. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
This is what it means here, right here. You don't even know how to take a compliment.
Because compliments coming from you is always weird, bro. It's lefties. No, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think I'm also appreciative that I didn't delete this little chat thing, but yeah.
You came with receipts.
I mean, I do remember. I actually remember. I remember because I think at one point I remember saying something like what I said. I said, basically, because he used to be in the military. And he said he traveled the world and he's seen these things. And I'm like, well, traveling the world as a U.S. military is going to fucking shade your view of the world. Like, and so
yeah, you know what? I got a cousin like that. Like,
well, so I said that, and I said, you literally were, so you were literally or still in the military or affiliate with the U.S. military. And he got upset because he was like, I told you. And I was like, I don't remember. I don't know everybody. I don't know him personally. So I don't remember he's in, out, or affiliated or not. I just said you one of the three. And he thought I was like trying to
let him back in. You Elijah Muhammad.
But you need to stop doing that.
Let him back in. Let him back in your cult.
If you're gonna be a lightweight asshole about the word costs and externalities, you can't say let him back in because I never let him out and I never forced him not to come in.
Okay,
so
Elijah.
I need you to use
let
correct
Malcolm come home.
I need you
let
to
Malcolm come home.
I need you to use correct language. Stop using the word let, because that's like, just like I said, the thing is open to all African people who identify as African, who engage in organizing or engage in political education. It's open. Now, again, there's people in the group. There's people in the group. Diallo gonna keep trying to talk. There's people in the group. Diallo gonna keep trying to talk. There's people going to be in the group that Diallo keeps trying to talk over me, and he's not gonna let me talk. When I get quiet, y'all want me to be quiet. But there's people in the group who.
Honorable Geechee, whose birthday is a holiday.
Good night, y'all.
Let the brother come home. See, y'all done ran Geechee off. Y'all send it. Let's say let him come home. Haas come home. Let him return to the temple, Geechee. He said he's gone. He's still here, y'all. Y'all act like, see, there he he act like he
I'm telling you to end the show. Like, I'm done, bro. You ain't want me to talk.
Okay, I'm gonna start the music right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
They saying Diallo. They saying Diallo, please. Listen.
Okay. I appreciate you staying over, man. Yeah. I value you and your time. I don't take it for granted. I appreciate that.
Well, it's a cost to come with that. So go ahead, send me some of them.
I'm gonna treat it like an externality.
What's them chat? What's them money chats? Send me some of the money chats.
All right. You get what? I think one third of this. I'll send you the papers. I'll send you. You're an admin now, so you can go in the back and look behind the curtain.
All right, man.
All right, bro. Peace.